I don't know if you guys have been following rap at all in the past couple of weeks, or the past month rather, because Kendrick Lamar and Drake have been going at it nonstop for like the past 2 or 3 weeks now. So Drake put out a diss earlier, and then this week Kendrick put out 3 different disses at Drake, and then Drake tried to come back with a diss, and then Kendrick dropped another diss. And so they're going at it left and right, like insulting each other, calling out their families, calling out them being abusive and neglectful to their friends and family, and lying to their fans and all this other stuff, right? But there's one person that got out of this beef early, and that was J. Cole. And J. Cole, when Kendrick Lamar dropped the song Like That with when he was a feature on that for Future, Kendrick Lamar went at both Drake and J. Cole because of J. Cole's shout out to Kendrick on First Person Shooter. Anyway, so J. Cole dropped a diss record to Kendrick called 7 Minute Freestyle, and that record was going at Kendrick and talking about how he has had whack albums and isn't that great of an artist and all this other stuff, right? Anyway, so like 2 days after J. Cole dropped that diss, he was doing a concert in North Carolina where he said, hey, you know what? I put this diss out about Kendrick, but actually Kendrick's a great artist. It didn't sit right with my soul that I put this out, but everybody around me was saying, hey, you got to put this diss out. You got to do blah, blah, blah. And so I put it out. I feel horrible about it. So I'm going to go ahead and take the diss out. Take it off streaming services, take it off my album. I don't want it there anymore. And at the time that happened, people were really upset. They were saying that J. Cole was, downing rap, and he needed to compete in the sport of rap by being able to throw insults back and not have it be a thing that's personal and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But J. Cole was just like, I don't care. And so, yeah, his album sales suffered as a result of it. He got majorly trashed by other rappers saying that this was the downfall of hip hop and how dare he not compete and blah, blah, blah. Well, fast forward a month later, turns out, given the types of disses that Kendrick has been putting out towards Drake in terms of like going for the jugular about his family and about his fans and about all this other stuff, now people are coming around and saying J. Cole might have actually been the smart one, because like Drake's putting out disses that are cool for the clubs and poppy, and Kendrick Lamar is like, I hate you, I hate your family, hate the way you dress, hate the way you act, you're a phony, you're a sellout, you're a bad father, like all these really harsh things that are admittedly kind of hard to come back from, right? And so now, in hindsight, J. Cole's almost looking like a genius for dropping out so early on in this rap battle. Why am I talking about this to you on a dating channel? I'm coming from this from the perspective of this, is that he made a very unpopular choice when he decided to drop out of that battle, right? And sometimes as a guy in your lifetime, you're going to come across things that for whatever reason, your instinct is telling you it's a bad idea or it's not sitting right with your soul. And you're going to have to make a decision about something that may initially not be popular. And this is also very true in your relationships with women. When women are dating you, they're coming to you in part thinking, if I go with this guy, he's going to be the leader. And more often than not, they're going to want you to be the decision maker. And sometimes you're going to have to make a decision, whether it's for you as a couple or for a family or whatever, whereby when you first put the decision out there, you may get pushback. The woman that you're with may say, but why would you want to choose that? Why should we do that? I have a better idea. That shouldn't be a thing. And you're going to have to be steadfast on your principles that you believe you're making the right decision. And in that moment, when that happens, your girlfriend, your wife, your fiance may fight you on it, may say, I don't agree with this. They may stop talking to you for a minute. But you have to know that sometimes if you have instincts on things that maybe the person you're making the decision with isn't having the full knowledge of, that you have to go with your gut and wait for the outcome of that to be realized later. In my dating relationships, I've definitely had times where I've made decisions about things, or I had thoughts or ideas about things that the woman I'm dating at the time would be like, that's not a thing, or how dare you think this, or you shouldn't be doing this, or why do we have to do this thing, whatever. And then fast forward like 2 or 3 weeks later, that same woman will come back to me, hey, Harry, so you were right. I didn't fully see the decision at the time, but now I realize you were right. Or it might be a thought I had about something where like, I don't agree with that thought. How could you think that thing? 2 or 3 weeks later, okay, based on how this thing played out, I could see now that you were right the whole time. And by the way, when that happens, I'm never a person that's like, I told you so, or see, you should listen to me in the first place, because I understand that, hey, there's going to be times when I do make a decision and it ends up being the wrong decision. And what I don't want at that moment in time is for the woman I'm dating to come back and say, see, you should listen to me. You're not a good leader after all. Like, I think people should be given the grace to be not fallible. I think that's it, fallible, yeah, to make a mistake and to not recognize that whatever you're saying is right or wrong, or that sometimes they'll be right or wrong. Like, as humans, we're going to do that. So I don't think it behooves you as a guy to jump on somebody when they realize you're right. Like, if anything, you want them to come to you and say, hey, I realize you were right, and then have to understand that you're not going to browbeat them to death just because you were proven to be right. But suffice to say, part of your job as a leader is to sometimes make the unpopular decisions. You know, you might say you get like a job promotion that causes you to have to move out of state. You might have to have the conversation with your wife and the kids about how, hey, we got to move out of state, and here's why. The money's better, but also the place we're living right now, it's on a downward trend, and so we should move. That might not be a popular decision amongst your kids or amongst your wife, but your wife, or even in the wifing phase, during the dating phase, your woman is going to test you on your ability to make choices, and then there are going to be times where, as part of that test, she's going to push back against you just to see if you have the ability to be steadfast and to stick to your guns when you're making a decision. And that's going to be one of those tests that is going to be initially annoying. But for women, they need to see that, because they don't want a guy that's going to just be flopping in the wind and changing his mind based on how she feels about a thing and based on how other people are talking about the thing or whatever. Like, they're going to want to know that when you're making decisions, you're able to come to those decisions based on what your analysis is of things and be able to stick to that, you know? And again, it doesn't have to mean that you have to make the right decision every single time, but ideally, your woman's going to be trusting enough of you to where she's going to trust your decision-making most of the time. And this is part of a woman's vetting process, which is why when she's dating you, it's really not good for you to try to rush her into a relationship, because part of her assessment of you is being able to test you out to see if you are a person that sticks on his principle. If you're a guy that says a thing and he means a thing, and that when you're making decisions about, you know, where to take her on dates or like what you guys are going to do for whatever, that you're making good decisions, you know? And so as a woman starts to see how you make decisions and starts to see the outcome of those decisions being positive outcomes, then she'll trust you a lot more. But that means that, guys, you have to get used to the idea that a woman doesn't have to always agree with you in order for you to go through with the decision. And that's a hard thing for a lot of guys to get by, because as guys, we want to please our women. We want to make sure that we're doing things that make her happy. And sometimes we make decisions that aren't going to make her happy. And you still got to be like, but I got to make the decision and hope that even if she's not okay with it, she'll see in the long run why your decision ended up being the right one. So just like, you know, J. Cole is now getting his props for jumping out, nobody saw a month ago the vitriol that was going to happen when Kendrick decided to actually play ball and like respond to all these disses. So now he looks like a genius. But in that moment, I'm sure it was very hard for him to say, crap, like people are going to be clowning on me and hating on me for doing this, but I got to make the decision that's best for me and what's best for my spirit and best for my soul. And you as a guy got to be the kind of guy that can do that as well, because that is the kind of man ultimately that the women you're trying to get with are going to respect. So just wanted to point that out, because I've been following this beef for a month now. And as a rap fan, I love it. But I also respected J. Cole when he made his decision, because I'm like, hey, at the end of the day, you know, even if on previous records he was like, oh, I'm ready for beef and this and that. If when he got to the beef line, he realized this ain't the one, I got to respect the decision, you know? But that's just me as a rap fan. So just wanted to put that little commentary out there.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-class man. You a high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high